go on to a different story now, which is the fact that the NHS are launching its first service for trans patients wanting to return to their birth gender. To discuss this with us is Fiona McAnena. McAnena? Is that how I say it? Sometimes I read names and I'm like, I don't know how to McAnena. You're going to tell me anyway, Fiona. Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters. Please correct my pronunciation.
Hi, Alex. It's McAnena, but that's fine.
McAnena. A bit like Macarena. You must have heard that almost your whole life, or at least since the mid-90s. I mean, when I look at this story, I kind of think, well, you know, poor young people who have been sort of brainwashed or whatever it is, at the very least affirmed by professionals who probably should have known better, to mutilating their bodies with surgical interventions, hormonal interventions and so on and so forth, when they suddenly realise they've made a big mistake. Can't just be said, oh, well, you know, that's what you are now, live with it. I think it's absolutely right that they are helped to detransition, but it's a damning indictment on what was going on in the first place.
Yeah, and you know, the activists tell us that people know who they are, they know their identity, and you must just affirm and go with it. And this shows you how dangerous that is and how reckless and irresponsible that is, especially when adults that children trust tell them that they really are born in the wrong body if that's how they feel. So it's first of all really important to recognize that children and adults do change their minds, and that's why we have to be very cautious in gender affirmation treatments in the first place. It's also why the proposal to ban conversion therapy is harmful, because actually talking therapy is what would have helped some of these people realize that they really didn't need to do this to themselves. But then the second thing to say is, of course, you can't really detransition.
That was what I was going to ask you. Yeah, how complex is that? I mean, because what we're hearing is once you've taken puberty blockers and stopped that natural development of your body in line with it, you know, your biological clock, that you can't really undo that. Once you've been taking opposite sex hormones, you know, as a woman, if your voice suddenly goes deep and you start growing a beard, well, you know, it's very difficult to undo that. And surely if you've gone as far as having mastectomy and actually removing or surgically altering parts of your body, be it surgery, downstairs surgery, whatever they call it, or top surgery, as they like to call it in a rather sort of disturbing, childish manner, it's very hard to sort of chop bits off your body, mutilate it, and then put it back together.
Yeah, it's impossible. And it's devastating when you hear people talk about the medical interventions they've had and the effect it's had on them. So there's a whole range of things here. Children who've had their puberty blocked almost all go on to cross-sex hormones, so they have no sexual function and no fertility. Young adults may have gone through some part of their puberty, but if they go on to cross-sex hormones, much of that is irreversible, as you say. So a woman's voice will drop and lower within months of taking testosterone, and that can't be reversed. The facial hair doesn't stop growing, the receding hairline. And there are other things people don't even talk about, like women who've used testosterone for some years will end up with incontinence, with prolapse. It's pretty horrific. And it's really, you know, welcome that these poor people are now going to get access to medical help, because one of the things that we hear is that people who've been to a gender clinic who then go back and express any kind of regret generally get short shrift.
Wow.
Because they don't get the narrative. So there's no help for them. And sometimes there's a letter, in fact, that Dr. Hilary Cass has published today about adult gender clinics, where she said that in some clinics, the philosophy is that it's up to the patients to make their own mistakes. So we have a population now, and I think it's likely to be a growing population of people, men and women both, who have got serious physical health issues arising from this so-called gender-affirming medicine, and they have had nowhere to go, and thank goodness they are now going to get some help. Do
you think that we're going to see in the future sort of damages being sought, court cases, legal action, potentially against medics, potentially against the government? Are we likely to see a sort of inquiry on the scale of the blood inquiry, the infected blood scandal, or even the post office inquiry? They're, you know, very different things here, where these people turn around and say, I was a minor, there wasn't enough safeguarding, and that, you know, people are actually... I'm pretty sure that if this does happen, that it'll be the taxpayer who foots the bill and it won't be any of the individuals involved.
Well, we're already seeing a couple of court cases in the UK and numerous court cases in the US. One of the difficulties with legal action is that it sometimes takes people several years before they realise they made a mistake, and they may then be timed out for legal action. You know, I don't know what the statute of limitation is in each case, but that's part of the barrier for people. And also, if they are supposed to have given informed consent, then they don't necessarily have a case. But of course, there can't be informed consent. Nobody knows what this does to people.
No, it's going to be one heck of a mess going forward. Well, in fact, it already is. Helen McAnena there, thank you ever so much.